All right, so forever grateful, Wayne Westland Federal Credit Union. My sister actually works at that bank. And I had no idea that they actually sponsored this, they're one of the many sponsors of this Memorial Garden. Firing line, indoor gun range, and gun shop. You got more names engraved. We still have to get over to this side here. This is the most recent. And there's still all of this to explore too. So this might end up being a two-parter video because I'm trying to make my videos a little bit shorter than they have been. The Mexican-American War, 1846 through 1848. And it says the Mexican-American War was known as the Mexican War, the U.S.-Mexican War, the invasion of Mexico, the U.S. intervention, or the United States War against Mexico. It was an armed conflict between the United States and Mexico from 1846, considered part of its territory despite the 1836 Texas Revolution. And it says combat operations lasted a year and a half from spring 1946 to fall 1947. Combat operations lasted. American forces quickly occupied New Mexico and California, then invaded parts of northwestern Mexico and northwest Mexico. Meanwhile, the Pacific conducted a blockade and took control of several garrisons, I think that's the name, on the Pacific coast, further south in Baja California. Another American army captured Mexico City, and the war ended in victory for the United States. The Treaty of Guadalupe, that's the name, specified the major consequence of the war. The forced Mexican cession, or cession, or whatever the word is. I'm just going to say the end, or the Treaty of Guadalupe specified the major consequence of the war. The forced Mexican cession of the territories and out took California and New Mexico to the U.S. in exchange for $15 million. Of course, if there's one thing we all know about war, it's that it's usually about money. More money is definitely part of it. And a lot of people might think that that's something new, but this was 1846 and 1848. In exchange for $15 million. In addition, the United States assumed $3.25 million of debt owned by the Mexican government to U.S. citizens. Mexico accepted the loss of Texas and thereafter called the Rio Grande, or cited the Rio Grande as its national border. The War of 1812, from 1812 to 1815. And it says here the War of 1812 started on June 18th, 1812, and lasted for about 3 years, ending on March 23rd, 1815. The war was initiated by the United States of America and was fought against the British Empire and the Canadian Army. There were also many tribes who joined in and supported the British. That is actually really cool to know, that some native tribes joined in and supported the British during that war. And we all know the history behind the British and the Native Americans. Not all of it is pretty, and not all of it was And I guess obviously this isn't pretty because it's war, but still. Lots of tension between the two, I guess. And I had no idea. I knew about the War of 1812, obviously, but I had absolutely no idea that there were Native American tribes who joined in and supported the British. I think that's really, really, really cool. I'm reading to see if it says anything else about it. I don't think, no. But this is what it says. There were also many tribes who joined in and supported the British. And then this here says, loving memory of our daughter and stepdaughter, Anita Lynn D., September 20th, 1967 to October 10th, 1990. And then this says, in loving memory of Thomas D. W., October 23rd, 1968 to January 3rd, 2006. This one here says, in loving memory of Jerome Arnold, gone fishing. Let's see what this is. This is about the Vietnam War. Let's see, what does this say? It says, fearing the spread of communism, President Kennedy committed the people of the United States of America to defending the South Vietnam. So it gives a little history about the Vietnam War. And for those who don't know, the Vietnam War went on from 1959 to 1975. I had no idea it lasted that long. I thought it was only in like the late 60s. But the things you learn. And then this is about the Korean War, 1950 to 1953. The Korean War conflict between communist and non-communist forces in Korea from June 25th, 1950 to July 27th, 1953. At the end of World War II, Korea was divided at the 38th parallel, or whatever the word is, into Soviet North Korea, or North Korean, because it says here North Korean, in the U.S. South Korea zones of occupation in 1948. Rival governments were established. The Republic of Korea was proclaimed in the South, and the People's Democratic Republic of Korea in the North. So this definitely explains. So what I'm getting is like all these different marble things have different wars, of all the different wars. Oh, here's one that I missed. Carl H. Williams, World War II veteran. My grandpa was in the military, like I've mentioned in a video that I've made about the Plymouth War Memorial. And so the military is something I hold near and dear to my heart, for sure. So this was sponsored by North Brothers Ford. North Brothers Ford would like to thank First Lieutenant U.S. Army James E. North for his service to our great country during the Korean War. Yes, if anyone is watching this video who served in the military, even if you didn't go to war, I thank you for your service. And I know that sounds very cliche to say to a lot of veterans and things. Thank you for your service, but I know that can go a long way sometimes, or most times. So, but World War II, European theater. Now this is something different that I've never really heard about before. Let's see what this says. The European theater operations of the United States Army was a United States Army formation which directed the U.S. Army's operation in parts of Europe from 1942 to 1945. That is really cool. And then this is the Pacific Theater from 1941 to 1945. So the same year, same time frame. And it's sponsored by UHT Funeral Home. And then there's something written on this. I can't really make out what it says. But in memory of Thomas, I'm just going to say Thomas B, because I can't really pronounce the last name. United States Marine Corps, loving husband and wife to Donna, missed father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, with with his true band of brothers. William, World War II, Gilbert, World War II, George, and World War II, and Edward. Okay. World War I. 1914 to 1918. Sponsored by one of the sponsors, Red, Holman Buick GMC, UAW Region 1A, Retired Workers Council, Bob Sisler, Chairperson. North Brothers Ford would like to thank 2nd Lieutenant Army Air Service Lyle C. Collison, I'm going to just use that name, for his service to our great country during World War I. Spanish-American War, 1898. The Spanish-American War was a conflict in 1898 between Spain and the United States, effectively the result of the American intervention in the Cuban War of Independence. That's really cool. Parkside Credit Union. The Sharp and Shedler families, for all that have served, are serving now and will serve. The American Civil War, which went on from 1861 to 1865. I'm sure most of you know what the Civil War was all about. The American Revolutionary War. And I'm sure everybody knows about this one. I mean, this is one of the wars that get taught in history class. At least it did. I don't know if they still do. The war that won political independence for 13 of Britain's North American colonies. So the Revolutionary War. George Washington, Garden City Hospital, and Wade Shows Inc. salutes all of our veterans. The Veterans Memorial Gardens is located at 6123 Central City Parkway in Westland, Michigan. And it's located in the same vicinity as the Westland Public Library. Again, if you're ever in the Westland area, I highly recommend you go and you check this place out. I've been to the War Memorial in downtown Plymouth and also the First Responders Memorial, also in downtown Plymouth. And this memorial here in Westland is the most detailed and also talks about every single war that our country has been involved in, from the War of 1812 to the Revolutionary War, all the way up to the most recent war in Afghanistan and Iraq. Anyways, that's the video for today. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe. And hit the share button if you want. And once again, I want to say thank you to anyone who's watching this who served in any of the military, any of the branches, but also those who sacrificed their lives on the streets as law enforcement officers, and those who are firefighters and paramedics and people whose job is to keep us all safe, even though it could mean that they pay for it with their lives.